You're listening to Bedroom Beethovens, where notable music makers break down stories accompanied by songs and melodies documenting growth through their 10,000-hour journey. And me? Well, my name is Cello, your host.
Yeah, man, y'all, it's Wise P. You already know. Ism. Yeah, man, Bedroom Beethovens, huh? Fly shit, I like that. But get the son of a project, son of a, you know what I mean? Get that, that's fire, man. Wise P Music, man, WAISP music.com. Keep doing your thing, brother.
I am a bedroom Beethoven.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 116 of the podcast. Independent hip-hop label Don't Sleep Records returns. My guest this week is...
Yeah, this is Phoniks, 30-year-old producer from Portland, Maine, co-owner of Don't Sleep Records, one half of Awon and Phoniks, one half of Anti-Lily and Phoniks.
That's what it is. It's A1 MC, one half of A1 and Phoniks. Work with a lot of people, man. I don't want to start naming names because the list will go for a minute. So we just out here.
Chilling. Happy to be here.
Burning like Cali, anxiety makes me tired. Heart pumping and pacing, the blood pressure is racing, the anger and hypertension got me going straight J's. Good times, y'all. Cheers to some proper mental health. Sometimes I feel I'm walking through a storm by myself, so I'm sparking up more. And my cup stay filled, chasing Henny with some minis just to sleep away the hills. Bills for the bills. Breathing exercise, it ain't enough for me to chill. On corrupt moon rocks while I watch boondocks. Think of grandiose plots to secure more stocks of pharmaceuticals.
Man, I've been around the block so long, repeat guests are trickling in. One of the first producers to come on my show, Phoniks, swings by after 2 years to give me an update on his current outlook on life, his latest projects and more, while A1, someone I'm proud to call a friend as well, knows that he can hit me up anytime and he's got a spot on the show. Nothing Less is the new project. It's out now. Go scoop it up. But before we get into the conversation, you guys support me too, folks. Appreciate everyone who tunes in week after week. You know my platform is here to share stories and boost creatives, and I'm no different. Think about becoming a Patreon. A few people have signed up in the last few weeks, and I appreciate that so much. Patreon.com/bedroombeethovens. Join the squad. There's some perks there, and you don't have to give up that much money. I know times are hard, and we're all in this together. YouTube channel is growing too, so check that out if that's your preferred medium. Clips and episodes are posted over there, and bedroombeethovens.com is the main hub. Everyone likes a guy with a podcast website. There's so few of us. This episode is a good one. Shout out to Wise P, repping Brooklyn all day. This episode is all about the golden age, East Coast hip-hop. Wise P, he's got that pimp-infused East Coast lyricism, many different flavors. You know how it is. So let's get into the meat and potatoes. A1 Phoniks, Don't Sleep Records, nothing less, baby. First things first is you both individually have been on the show, and Phoniks, you came on at a time when this podcast was very new, and you decided to come on. It brought a lot of validation to the podcast because I was a big fan of you, and when I reached out to you, you told me you don't necessarily do a lot of interviews, so that was very big for me. So I did want to thank you.
Oh, thank you, man. Yeah, it's been cool. I think I was the 5th episode, right? Or something like that. So it's been cool to watch it grow. And I'm always like shocked now when I see the names you're getting every week. You're always bringing some of my favorite people on here. So
I'm shocked too, man.
Yeah.
And A1, what's crazy is, so you've been on the show as well. And right before the pandemic hit, you and your wife talked about opening up a record store. And now it's like, opening up a business seems like a death wish, but Phoniks was thinking about opening up a restaurant, and I sit back and I see Phoniks in the kitchen making dope food. A1's performing on stage in the restaurant. You know, you come in, you eat an artisan flatbread pizza, you listen to live performances, and in the back is a record shop.
Man, that would be so crazy, but the pandemic has changed the way I at least view business and opening businesses or whatnot. You know, I thank God that we didn't take a leap of faith and do something like that now, because Imagine a business in its infancy, a brick and mortar, and then pandemic hits and you're closed, permanently closed at that point for most people,
Yeah,
or in a hell of a lot of debt. So, you know, take it with a grain of salt, but doesn't mean that it can't happen in the future.
it's a dope idea.
Yeah, for real, for real.
Someday.
In Portland last month, they still had restaurant week. So either, Governor Mills is either pretty confident or Portland cases are down or he's being reckless. I don't
Did
know.
they? Nobody even told
Yeah.
me.
I mean, times change quick. I mean, last summer, if you wore a N95 or gloves while shopping, people looked at you like you were an
I
alien, and
know.
now it's kind of the norm.
I know.
Yeah, yeah. It's pretty wild. I kind of tapped out of just the news cycle. Was kind of obsessed with it, and it
Same.
was bothering just affecting my mental health. So I fell back a bit. To be quite honest, as long as we do what we've been doing and kind of stay to ourselves, we'll be all right. We don't need to digest so much of the information that's out there because all it does is bring it right back in front of your face. You know what I mean? So it's tough, especially with a family and being limited, to the things that you could do. I try to avoid it at all costs and just focus on some positive things.
So Phonics, when A1 says that he is taking a brief hiatus from recording because the world got him down, you have to respect a decision like that, right?
Yeah, of course. I mean, we've always kind of just worked at our own pace and never tried to rush anything. When it comes, it comes. And when someone's feeling inspired, that's when the best music happens. So there's no point in trying to rush it if A wants to chill or if I want to chill.
Yeah, I mean, between Jacob Blake and Trump and rioting and Breonna Taylor and all this, it's hard to focus on art and business, but this is also kind of where revolutionary music comes from. So it's kind of a fine line.
Yeah, I agree with that. The greatest music I think comes from people wanting some sort of change or some sort of message that needs to be put out there. You look at the 70s and the music that was coming out in the early 70s in the late 60s that reflects civil rights. Then you fast forward to hip hop, especially during the 80s, late 80s where they got really conscious, generational change comes through the art. You know what I mean? Like people just present something to the world and it makes a difference, or it falls on deaf ears. But I tend to believe that the art does make a difference and impacts people more than the politics.
At the height of your frustration, were you serious when you said you wanted to start carrying a concealed weapon?
You know what? I was. That's not really even my style, but it just was like so crazy to see so much happening to people that left their house thinking that they were gonna come home and then they don't make it home.
We are all bred soldiers, street war stories, they will mold us. Profile pics, RIPs on white tees, still marching Black Lives Matter. When 12 come through, it's like another dome splatters. Sirens to me resemble colors of the flag, built on the backs of my people from the past.
So it's kind of wild, when you think about waking up, leaving your house, going to the store, or taking a walk, taking a jog, in the case of Ahmaud Arbery, and just not coming home. That's kind of crazy. So you begin to think of any ways and means to protect yourself. But then, the caveat to that is the consequences if you do have to use that weapon. What's going to happen? Obviously, jail first, and then they'll sort it out later.
Well, at the conclusion of this murder trial that's going on right now, when we get a verdict, do you feel like any progress is going to be made, like long term?
No, I don't believe that any progress can be made at all because so much damage has been done already. You know what I'm saying? When you look at the government itself, the country's unraveling because of systemic racism and the fact that people spent so much time with ways to oppress people from with a systematic approach. You know what I mean? Okay, you're gonna build housing projects in the '60s, then you're not gonna fund them and they're going to become dilapidated. Housing projects are social economic segregation. And if you don't continue to fund the project that you ran with, then it's going to become a problem. So for so many years, the government has created problems, and now is this rush for all of these solutions, as opposed to they could have took the approach of, let's not build all these prisons, let's invest in our infrastructure. Now they talking about an infrastructure bill, but you was building prisons 100 miles an hour. You know what I mean? Like, so the government on both sides has to really answer to the things that's in front of us. Like immigration is a problem through Iran Contra. You know what I'm saying? You destroyed Central America and South America with the cocaine trade and our appetite for cocaine in America. So, like, I feel like the chickens have come home to roost to all of the problems that were kind of swept under the rug, and all of the dirt that was thrown in the closet. Now, there's nowhere to put all of this dirt and nowhere to sort all of these problems. And we really have to clean up. And the task is so overwhelming that nobody's willing to take responsibility or accountability for the task at hand.
You're also seeing cops declaring war on black people. You have to have a realization that this country is never going to be the same as well.
Yeah, it's been crazy, man. I mean, it's hard to say what the solution is going to be. It seems like both sides are so far apart that it's like there's no compromise in sight. And just been unplugged because it gets like exhausting to follow the news every day and see the shit that's happening all over the country. So I've been pretty unplugged lately.
I think I can understand that. I think A1, when you were a young boy, young man, you moved from New York to Virginia, and you got away from the racism and the drugs and the family legal problems, and it shaped you so you could flourish as an artist. But also on the flip side, Big Daddy Kane, Master Ace, KRS-One, Chubb Rock, they didn't have that same luxury, but it also shaped them too. So maybe those experiences, I mean, you would have been great either way.
All human beings have a unique experience in life, and that's just speaking from experience. I lived, been through a lot, raising a family, and everybody's path is different. You're born alone, you're gonna die alone, and all of that stuff that happens in between is unique to that individual. So I think that no matter what, circumstances I was in, I was gonna be determined to do what I'm doing right now, which is MC. Have a label, put out music, and do it on the terms that we wanted to do it on. That's the whole destiny. That's why we here. Everything we manifest through music and through art, it becomes our life.
This has been like really quite a year. Phoniks and I just realized the last time that we talked, I think A1, last time you came on, it was 2019. And pandemic aside, since we last chatted, I mean, Phoniks, you came out with a beer collaboration, you got married, you started a Netflix doc. A1, you've been busy with Jazz Cat, your family. I'm sure this pandemic has made you lose respect for family members. You've realized people's true colors. Maybe stronger bonds have been made, but this year has definitely tested you both.
Yeah, the year was extremely difficult. The way it began, in 2020, the way 2020 ended, and the way 2021 has begun. It's been very challenging, but on the real, I feel like light is at the end of the tunnel and normalcy is going to happen again. The issue at hand is the remainder of the world, the rest of the world. Is the rest of the world going to be able to come back from all of this? Thinking about countries that are not so blessed, that don't have the infrastructure or the resources we have here in America. Will they be able to come back? And is that gonna hold us back from, full steam traveling and doing the things that we would be accustomed to doing in the normal time? So it's still it feels good, but in the back of my mind, I still wonder how far we really away from regular life.
Eating crepes in Paris.
Absolutely, absolutely, and croissants and espressos. Like I miss all of that.
Well, in terms of growth, though, I believe last time we talked, I believe you said the type of person you are is go, go, go. And Phoniks usually has to be the one to tell you to slow down and have patience and take time to let the process work itself out. And 99 times out of 100, you say he's right. And it took your entire adult life to finally trust your process. And that must have been a heavy thing to realize about yourself and fix.
It really is. You know, I look at Phonics and see how he's grown and flourished and all of the things he's naturally like low key. And that works. That makes more sense. And, I got to take some of my own advice, like make it easy on myself. You know what I mean? You don't have to keep up with no one. We on our own clock, on our own schedule. And I realized that it takes like a year or even more sometime for people to catch up with our creative process, that is no sense in flooding, the airwaves and flooding people with art. Let people enjoy what we've already built. We've done a lot in the past. What it's been like 8 years? We've done a whole lot, in 8 years that a lot of people will want to switch places with us, for what we've been able to do on our terms. I tend to like lean towards more towards his advice and the way he moves than the way that I used to move. At the end of the day, I could care less about rap. Hip hop is who we are. It's our way of life. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
I would say you guys have a pretty aggressive release schedule.
I think since in the past year or two, we started figuring out that we can go back and repress our old projects. So it seems like we're coming out with more than we are. Like in terms of physical merchandise, we are putting out a pretty aggressive release schedule. In terms of new original projects, I mean, we probably averaging like 2 a year. I think last time I was on here, I was talking about getting up to 4 projects a year. But now that we've gotten into doing the reissues and getting more into doing merch and all that, I think we don't have to be as aggressively trying to write new music all the time.
Yeah, I bought 2 represses from you guys this year. The Down to Earth came out.
Appreciate it.
Like I'm a weirdo. I don't like black vinyl. I like the variants. I'm a
I
weirdo like
agree.
that. I'll admit it. So when you came out with the Down to Earth variant, I scooped that up. And then Anti Lily came out with the Rat Van Winkle
That one
variant
was so dope.
on orange, and I scooped that up. Even though shipping to America is a bitch, I still scooped that up because I had it on black. So I sold the black and rebought the variant.
Nice.
So man, I'm all in.
Yeah, I think
So
going forward, we're definitely going to do more crazy colors and splatters and all that. Like we got like a 3 color with a splatter for nothing less. We want to do more just wild style stuff like that.
the purists are going to say that the black sounds better, but I don't. I've done A/B testing. I don't hear it.
I don't either, man. I think the audio files, I don't know, like a little crazy
A little
sometimes.
uppity.
I mean, 90% of the music we listen to is through Spotify, anyways, which is definitely not the highest quality audio, and nobody notices. So.
Well, as a creative, we're both graphic designers, so I think you can kind of relate to this question. I don't mean any malice by it, but because
Yeah.
marketing and aesthetics is important to you. That Netflix doc, did you have any reservations having a 19-year-old university dropout to direct and tell your story? Like, how'd you know that was going to work?
I didn't, just because it wasn't like there was people lining up to tell our story, So it was like, wow, this kid is so passionate, and he was just so into the project that I think as soon as we saw the first 5-minute clip that he edited together, we were like, all right, we trust this guy.
And Master Ace got emotional watching the doc. Was that the catalyst for him to work with you? That opened up the floodgates of communication.
Yeah, he tweeted about the doc, which was the coolest shit in the world for me. That's like growing up, my favorite rapper. He tweeted that he loved the doc just out of nowhere, and then I think I DM'd him and thanked him, and he followed me back, and then that kind of like opened up the the communication between us, and then I hit him up about the verse for the album.
This how it be in this everlasting game.
Prodigy said, you all alone in these streets, cousin. You got a family at home, you need to keep loving. Put your head down and keep plugging. But you still ain't gonna ever get hot like a cheap oven. You breaking down like a Sears appliance. I'm never caving, I be bathing in the tears of giants. What you witnessing is real defiance. And I don't really care what y'all serve, I just feel decline.
Another documentary is called Hip Hop Uncovered. And have you guys seen that or heard of it?
Yes, I checked some of the episodes out. Pretty dope. What is it, like a 6-part series?
It opened my eyes up to Haitian Jack, who on the surface, he looks nice, but apparently he was a rough dude. And he ran with Kenneth Supreme McGriff and Supreme Magnetic, who was a friend of your father, A1. So you could have touched that life really easy. Those were some real gangster E-Money bags, Black Just, Mano. I mean, we could have very easily added A1 to the list. I mean, those are some killers.
Absolutely. And that's why you steer clear of that life. It's as crazy as it sounds. People see the docs and hear the stories, and they check out Vlad and see these interviews, but that's the sensationalized side of things. It's a lot of jail time and in some cases lives lost in that life. I take it all with a grain of salt. Like, it could have been, but I'm glad that I'm here, a family man, raising my kids and alive and well, and having touched the confines of a federal prison, in my life. So that's the thing that makes me happy, because I know a lot of brothers are away for the rest of their lives. Even if they lived the whole time, they wouldn't outlive their sentence. Could you imagine that, having a sentence so long, there's no way to get out when you're alive? It's crazy. My uncle did like 22 years in prison, and I remember when he came home, like cell phones, using them the way that they look now compared to the way they looked when he went in. And just forget about the internet. Like, it was just a lot of things that he had to get used to, you know what I mean? Because of so much time away. It was very, very difficult and challenging, but I'm happy to say he's doing extremely well right now. Better than people that never did time at all. In fact, so shouts out to my uncle Bar. He's doing amazing.
I don't mean to keep talking about more doom and gloom, but I did want to talk about the MC Doom, because coincidentally, A1, you have been heralding the work of Doom for a long, long time, because to you he was your favorite MC, because he gives you every era of hip hop. He's been through. And Phoniks, he was the producer that influenced your sound the most. So we have one figure who has inspired an MC and a producer alike, and I think that's a very hard thing to do.
I think that was the hardest pill to swallow of the year. It heartbroken, really, because he was so dope and had so much to offer, and there's a whole generation of artists that can thank him for their careers and their sensibilities. For me, including staying independent, Doom wasn't on flashy labels with big advances or none of that. He kind of moved and hopped around in different labels and kind of did what he wanted to do, and everybody accepted it. It makes you rethink the way you put out music. It makes you rethink art. It makes you rethink emceeing from the perspective of Doom's style and his choice of sampling and just esoteric way he approached things, including sampling. From the, I guess you could say, the DJ side, like thinking like a DJ as opposed to a beat maker. He thought like a DJ with the blends and all of that, like taking the hard hip hop drum pattern and then pairing it with this like smooth R&B loop, and hearing him explain why. Like, I was listening to a podcast and he explained why. He was like, yeah, because the girls want to dance, but the guys, they want something hard to bop to, so I gotta have both of them. You know what I'm saying? I was like, damn, that's so smart. It's so slick. And then you think about food and the way that album was put together, even Operation Doomsday and some of his choices of samples, and then the breaks that he used, and it's like, ding, 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 it makes sense.
Definitely. I remember A1 and I think we called each other the night it happened, and we were like, it's so crazy because it just speaks to how great he was, because he's your biggest influence at your craft and my biggest influence at my craft, and we both do separate things. So that just speaks to how great he was as an overall artist, that he could be so influential to so many people.
And how old was Doom when he passed? He was in his late 40s, right?
49 to be exact.
49.
Yeah.
So, if you grew up in the golden age of hip hop, A1, why did you think that you could possibly be too old to rap when you met Phoniks? Because I remember you telling me you felt that way. And when you see Primo at age 60 killing the game, Doom's in his late 40s, is it different for an MC, you think, because you're the face of the music and you're the one going from one stage to the other, hyping the crowd, or what do you think?
Now I see everybody that's really killing it is my age. Might be a little younger, might be a little older, but the older dudes are the ones who really holding it down. And For me, that says that makes me feel so great, about hip hop is the fact that now we're finally allowed to age gracefully. We just saw I was just talking to Phonics today about the Ghostface and Raekwon verses. Had to be the best verses that I've seen thus far. It was amazing. And it just lets you know how dope they are. And I believe they're both grandfathers. So to see guys that someone calls grandpa or pop or whatever kill mics and break mics like that, it just warmed my heart. It was one of the best things that I've ever seen. And they haven't missed a beat. They sharp as a tack, and I salute them and tip my hats off to them. But my perspective definitely has evolved. I mean, shouts out to Master Ace, still killing it.
Yeah, not to mention, so when Master Ace dropped his debut album, Take a Look Around, Phonics wasn't even alive yet. So that's pretty awesome. So so when you come out with like Nothing Less, how hard would it be to get Big Daddy Kane or Rakim or Cool G Rap? They're legends, but I can't imagine their day cards are filled up. So was that a conversation for when you were crafting Nothing Less?
It wasn't, but I think it will be going forward. We were definitely talking about that. We were like, well, who else could we get? Let's try and get Method Man or some shit like that. Like let's try and punch up another level. So
Right,
we'll
right,
see.
right.
Is it disappointing when you share the stage with Odyssey overseas, and then when you reach out to them and you don't necessarily hear a response that you would want to hear, thinking like, hey, we broke bread on stage, we created experiences together, but I guess you win some and you lose some.
I
I've never
mean,
performed with Odyssey. Did you,
yeah,
Ed?
yeah.
I know A1's been on
I
stage.
Oh
did,
yeah,
I did, but that was actually in the States. That was in Richmond. I remember that show. I never forget that show. That was actually the last show that I did with my crew, the Soul Students, and I want to say that was in 2008. It was like the going away show for my homeboy albums. So shouts out to albums. But I remember that day in my mind, and it was a good day but a sad day as well, because everybody was moving away, graduating college, starting a family. So it was depressing for me, being like so head first in music, and I had my first album coming out, Beautiful Loser, and everybody else was like, all right, hey, you go ahead, we gonna do something else. So that was hard for me to accept. And I was down for a minute, for a long time, and some good things had happened along the way. And 5 years later, I met Phonics, and it rekindled my love for this thing, and it hasn't stopped since. It's been, like we was just saying, it's been 8 years, and we've been going crazy ever since.
Did you ever solve the case of the missing hard drive back in those days?
Nope. Still no idea who took that hard drive to this day. There's the mystery was a Air Force One print on the door, and the missing hard drive with nothing else disturbed. So I mean, you put two and two together, a Air Force One, nothing else disturbed but a hard drive. It had to be a disgruntled rapper. I mean,
definitely a black Air Force One.
yeah, exactly. So that was that, man. And we never figured that out. I wish we did, because I had some gems up there. The first album was only the demos. There was other music that was recorded that never see the light of day. And because of the way that we were recording, like jam, like almost like a band doing jam sessions, we'll have these sessions where I might write a rhyme on the spot and record right then and there. Everybody's in the crib, and the rhyme was on paper at that time. So I don't remember that shit at all. You know what I mean? And then the song is gone, and we have really no reference, and we looking for CDs, and there are all these blank CDRs, and you trying to figure out where is the MP, where's the mix down or whatever. It it's still hard to go through that now, because some of my best work was on that hard drive, and nobody will never hear it. The sad part is, the person who took it, I would have probably been close to, because they were recording with us. They wasn't coming to the crib. So that's also a hard pill to swallow. Like, after all these years, nobody will fess up to taking the hard drive. But It's water under the bridge. We did all right by ourselves without, the hard drive. So I'm not too mad. It all played out the way it was supposed to, I guess.
Well, back in those days, like I was wondering, like, why isn't there not more of you behind the boards? Because I remember you sharing production duties with J.R. Swift and Richard and more of your earlier work. And now that you have Phoniks, who I'm sure you could learn a lot from, Phoniks, if he came up to you and said, "Hey, can I get one beat on this? Let's work together and make that happen." I'm sure you'd allow it.
A1 has some beats on. He has some interlude joints on a couple of our projects, I think. A1 produced the interlude on Return of the Golden Era. He produced some interludes on Matt Black's Soul. So yeah, he's got some low key production
Yeah,
credits.
but when you
Man, you need to be front and center with that. I didn't know that.
yo, but when you
Hidden in the
yeah,
liner
when you
notes.
got phonics though, man, it's like why bother? I mean, me and Tiff was actually talking last night, and she had mentioned like, yo, Phonics's production is so well constructed and well put together. That's what makes it easy on the ears. His knowledge of music in general, just whether it's adding a bass line or doing research and watching tutorials and figuring out how to do something, he just knows how to put it together, and it makes so much sense that people just fall in love with his style. And I don't know a lot of producers, at least his age, that are that into the sound and care that much about the music. A lot of people make music, but a lot of people don't give a damn about the music. He actually cares about the music, and I appreciate that because I care about the music. I'm a super fan of music of all genres. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I have an idea for your next record. Like A1, your grandmother was a gospel singer, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, my grandmother Nuzella.
I didn't even know that.
Was there any luck getting that recording?
No, because my aunt who had it passed away, and her daughters would have her collection, and it's in the storage. And if you know about Hampton Roads, it's a lot of water here. So the storage got flooded. That had the vinyl in there, I believe. So I would have to go through and look through, moldy records. They didn't get rid of anything, but I just I'd rather just know that it was there than to just look through it and not find it and waste all that time trying to find it and be upset, when I can't lay hands on it. So I just let things be.
Were all the copies were in one basement, or is there some floating around?
Nah, I don't. I think it was just that one copy. I mean, this was just a small one-off pressing. I don't even know the name of the group or who she was singing with at the time.
Oh shit.
Yeah, so it's real hard. You talking about something that was done like in the '60s, and gospel records, especially like what do we call them? Private presses. Like
Yeah, white
it's
label.
really, yeah, white label private presses. It's really hard to find that type of stuff, man. And I think that that's why you hear of like these gospel records that are amazing. Another thing I see people going back to look for was samples of high school bands, sampling
Yep.
like, yeah, like high school bands and stuff like that, because it's those were like white labels and private presses. So it's hard to track down, who made it, who owns it, or whatever. It's just those once in a blue chances where you get a company like Ubiquity or Now and Again that will reintroduce something to people. Even Numero Group, they reintroduce a record like that they found, and because they happen to dig all of the time and they got dealers, you know what I mean? So they have more access to understanding things that regular customers won't have access to. So I appreciate all of the dusty fingered cats. I know a few of them, like my man Napoleon G. Shouts out to him, and shouts out to Ologist with that crazy Brazilian funk collection, man. Um,
I was gonna say if anyone could find that gospel joint, that'd be
yeah,
ologist.
I'm gonna ask Ologist and Napoleon about it, because they both might can put their hands on something. Thanks for that idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking, if Phonics samples some of your from music from your relatives produced 60 years ago. I mean, talk about soulful hip hop. Doesn't get more authentic than that.
Yo,
And they probably won't sue us.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Free sample.
Yeah, that'll
Yeah, that's
actually be
royalty free.
yeah, that'll actually be really dope, man. Thank you. I'm gonna look into trying to hunt that down now, man. You rekindled that fire for me.
There you go, man. I guess I'll just give you guys the floor to tell anyone about Nothing Less. Where they can get it. Anything you want to tell them, I'm gonna give you guys the floor.
All right. We wrote Nothing Less over the course of the pandemic. It's just about what was going on at that time. It was like a summary of the year. If 2020 was an album, Nothing Less would be 2020. And each song just reflects what people were going through. From songs like Everlasting Game, thinking about mortality, what you leave behind, and legacy, all the way down to fatherhood, being at home with my kids, thinking about them. It was the right time to release that record, since it was the pandemic and everybody can relate being at home, appreciating your kids more. So every record, meant something. The Cool Out with Kid Abstract, talking about mental health. I lost my aunt, Wanda, again. 2020 was crazy, and she struggled with mental health issues through her life. She happened to pass away too young, and I shouted her out on the beginning of that record because mental illness is something that I know very well throughout my family. I understand it, so I wanted to bring it to the forefront because it's not talked about a lot, and everybody can relate to things of mental illness. And then like the record, like When, just about civil rights and social injustice, and just I just tried to keep it real as possible. A lot of cats out here talking like boys, and I just wanted to talk like a man because that's what I am. You know what I'm saying? And Phonics gave me the right canvas for all of that.
Today, more than at any time any of us can remember, is a time for truth. Some of what you see and hear will make you angry. But if it does no more than make you angry, we will have failed in our purpose.
He just, everything he threw at me, even if he switched the beat later, it just really made sense, at the time. And like, just crazy.
It's not that there's silence for black on black violence. The movement ain't all inclusive or exclusive. The one issue, when bullets flying pierce melanated tissue. The stats thrown out ain't official. I was born in segregation due to socio-economic situations. Free cheese was the government's form of stimulation. COINTELPRO running war simulations with no limitations. Born 12 years after Martin was slaughtered by the Knights of Templar and Confederate daughters. Harriet told children to wade in the water. At least put our picture on the currency that bought us for cheap. In these streets as I weep from the trauma. A no-knock warrants and the murder of Brianna. How a man that bleed like me took my honor with handcuffs and a gun in my face like a mobster.
If it does not impress you with the absolute urgency of relieving that desperation, then we will not have communicated what Black America is trying to tell white America.
Like, quick story, he sent Everlasting Game the joint for it. And that afternoon, and like an hour or two later, I sent them back a verse. I did it at the kitchen table. Kids was making noise and everything, but I was that inspired. Then I went back and re-recorded it like later that night, and that's how that joint came about. Yeah. So every joint on there just came from the heart, and I tried to be as authentic and honest as I possibly could.
How is it with that beat change? Phonics, you told me that you changed the beat for an Anti-Lily track, and he didn't even know it until it actually came out on his record, and you're like, whoops.
I don't remember that. I feel bad. At this point, I just kind of have my process with every record where we make all the songs, and then whatever I feel like is the weakest beat, I just keep changing it out till I feel like it's my favorite beat on the album. So I kind of like bring the tracks that are at like the bottom of the track list for me to the top of the track list, and then keep trying to do that until I'm satisfied with everything. So usually I end up changing like a third of the beats or something like that.
Dope, man. So when you guys started this journey, you guys had no expectation. Awon and Phonics, now you're married, middle-aged guys, and you want $1 billion, nothing less. So treat a man as he is, and he will remain as he is. Treat a man as he can and should be, and he will become as he can and should be. So as you start collaborating with people you look up to, as you no doubt had the hardest years of your life, Phoniks, you created some of the best beats of your life. And I truly think this is still the tip of the iceberg for you guys.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, in terms of A1, I think you're going to have generational wealth for your children. Phoniks, you and your wife are going to carve out a great life as you ride through your 30s. And the music that you give us and reward our ears with will give back to you guys tenfold. So just keep doing what you do. And that's all I got to say about that.
Yo, man. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, man. Yeah, I love watching the podcast take off. Appreciate you giving us this platform again. It's a bigger platform than the last time we were on here. So
Yeah, man.
Proud of you.
Thank you, man. And A1, I appreciate your time. The Quarantine Tape by Phoniks is up, as well as his other work at phonicsbeats.com. The new album, Nothing Less, is on A1 and phonics.com. Vinyl edition of 500 is going quick, I assume. And of course, it's available on all streaming platforms. And of course, don'tsleeprecords.com. It's summer's coming, but the hoodies are still fresh. Still buy one.
Yeah, we got a bunch of new merch. Coming soon. We just met with a clothing company last week about doing like a whole line of merch for the summer. So look out for don'tsleeprecords.com for that.
All right, fellas. If there's nothing left, anything else, A1, you want to say? I know Jazz Cat's competing for attention here.
Oh, yeah. She's getting loud and boisterous. But I just wanted to say thank you, man. We sincerely appreciate it. And it's always a pleasure to chop it up with you. And much success to the podcast and all your future endeavors, man.
Appreciate that, man. Thank you, guys.
Peace.